Right, so from the last video, I covered some use cases. We create a Python virtual environment. I also showed you where you can download the WebDriver. And finally, we installed the Selenium Python library. In this lesson, we'll do two things. I'll cover basic HTML syntax. I'll also show you how to create a simple program using Python and Selenium to extract a company's financial information from Yahoo Finance website. So let's start with item number 1, which is the HTML syntax. If you already know this, then you can skip this part and go directly to the example. Let me put this tab on a separate page. Right. So let me do this. Let me grab a element. Here, maybe this should be pretty good. So I'm going to right click on European stocks, push higher on US this title. I'm going to right click, inspect element. So basically everything you see on this page are an element or some sort of element. And let me zoom in a little bit more. So every single line you see here are what we call an element. An element has several components. So we have beginning tag and ending tag. Or some people like to call it opening tag or closing tag. If we look at this tag right here, so this div keyword is a tag, and this is the ending tag that closes the element. And the whole thing is an element. Inside the element, we have what we call attribute. So class is an attribute, and tab index is also another attribute. So different attributes. And for each attribute, we have an attribute value. So for example, this -1 text is an attribute value. 17 is an attribute value. And the class name, which is this text right here, is also an attribute value. Then we have the element text or content. So if we expand the element, and this is a tag, image tag. Now let's go back to Yahoo Finance page. So let me inspect the element again. And right here is the content or text belongs to this element. So that's basically everything you need to know when it comes to understanding HTML markup for web scraping. Now I can close this tab. Alright, so let me launch my VS Code. So that will be the code editor I'll be using throughout this tutorial series. Alright, so let me create a new Python script. I'll name this Python script demo.py. Now here, let the VS Code to activate the virtual environment. So here I can see that VS Code is pointing at the run virtual environment. So here let me change my project path real quick. Should be setting, yep. So I need to change my parent path to tutorials. This is basically telling VS Code that where your virtual environments are located. And it should be two backward slashes. Alright, so let me reload my window. So here we have Selenium tutorial as my project folder. Now we have activated the virtual environment in VS Code. Now we can start writing the Python script. And it should be terminal, right? So I'll start by importing the browser's driver. So from Selenium.WebDriver, Let me increase the font size. Based on the browser you are using, there's Firefox. Actually, the F should be lowercase. Chrome, Edge, and Safari. I also want to import different keys. So from Selenium, let me go back. WebDriver, common, keys. And there's a class called keys. I have a typo. I'm going to execute these 2 lines. If I print the members of the keys class, should be the function keys. And these are the special keys we can access using the keys class, such as the L key, arrow down key, the F keys, help keys, insert key, and so on. So these are some of the special keys you can reference using the keys class. And these are the drivers classes. So we have Firefox. If I print the members of Firefox class. And these are the methods and attributes that we can access. Now going back to the code editor. Before we start anything, we need to provide a web URL where we're going to access the information. I want to access Yahoo Finance, so I'm going to copy the link and send the link to the URL variable. And next, I'm going to create a variable called driver path. And this is going to be the file path to access the browser driver. And since my driver is located on the parent level, I can just assign the file name. Now let's launch the browser. I'm using Firefox, so I need to use the Firefox class. Inside the Firefox class, I need to provide where the driver is located to the executable path parameter. Now assign driver path variable to the parameter value. I'll name the output as browser. And a lot of time you're going to see people use the name driver to assign the output name as well. For me, I prefer to use the name browser, just personal preference. Then we need to tell the browser where to go or what website to navigate to. And we use the get method to navigate to the web page. And I'll send the URL. Now I'm going to highlight these 4 lines. I'm going to run it. So this line right here is going to launch the browser. Then the get method is going to navigate to finance.yahoo.com. So still loading. Right. So here the browser instance is linked to this browser. So anything we do is going to impact this web browser. We can print the browser title. It's going to be Yahoo Finance, Stock Market Live, quotes business and finance news. We can also grab the URL. So in case if you are navigating to different web pages, let me grab the URL first. Actually, this should be current URL. That will return the URL wherever the current website is or the web page is. Now, what I want the program to do is I want the program to type a company's name and go to the company's information. Then hit enter to go to the company's information page. So here we need to examine the element linked to this search field. And let's zoom in a little bit more. So by looking at this element, we have an input tag. So here we can identify it's going to be an input field. And here's the element ID. So I'm going to grab the ID. I'll create a variable called search field ID. What I need to do now is I need to create an object reference to this element. Actually, let me go back to the developer window. I need to create an object to link to this element. And to do that, we'll reference the browser's object. And there are different methods you can use to find an element. We can find an element by ID, by class name, CSS style, even using tag name, and a couple other methods. For this video, I just want to show you how to create a simple Python program to get started with using Selenium. So to locate the element, since we have the ID already, we can use a method called find element by ID. And we just need to provide the ID name. And because we're going to create a reference, and it's going to be an object, so I'll name the object as element search field. I'm going to ask you these two lines. And I can see that I have successfully created the search field element object. Now let me minimize the window a little bit. So I want to put this at the bottom. Right, so I want the program to input a company's name or ticker, then hit the enter key to go to the company's relevant information or related information. So from the element search field object, actually let me print the members of this element. So if we look at the methods and attributes, so we have quite many find element methods. And a couple other methods we can use to automate the element. The methods I'm only interested in are the clear method and the send keys method. The send keys method allows you to provide the keystroke that you want to type to the element that you're referencing. And this element search field object is linked to this search field. So I'm going to clear the field first. It's just a good practice for me to always clear something in the search field before I type anything. I'll make a copy. Then I'll insert the send keys method. And let's say I want to grab the financial information of Tesla. I know the ticker should be TSLA. If I run these two lines. Oh, I was looking at the wrong browser. It should be this one. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Alright, so let me start over again. So I'll clear the field. And I'll enter the company's name, Tesla. Then I want to press the enter key. And there are two ways you can press the enter key. So one is to manually type the key name or the keystroke name. Enter. Oops, actually that does not work. It should be keys. So from the keys class, we need to reference the enter key value. So again, I'm going to clear the field. I will type the name, then I'll press the enter key. And that takes us to the Tesla's financial page. Now if I want to grab the markup or page source tied to this page, so we can reference the browser object. Remember, the browser object is always linked to the to this browser itself. Now if I reference the page source attribute, I'll print the markup, and that's going to return the entire markup that makes out to this web page. And once I have the page HTML markup, I can actually create my soup object or beautiful soup object and to script the information. But for this lesson, I'm going to skip that step, and I'll do that in the future video. Alright, so once I finish extracting the information I need, I can do two things. I can either close the tab or I can close the browser. If I want to close the tab, you can use the browser.close method. So this is going to close a tab. Actually, close current tab. But if I want to close the browser, then you use the quit method. So this will close the browser. And since I only have one tab, if I run the browser.close command or statement, it's going to close the browser itself. But here I'm going to use the browser.quit statement. I'll close the browser. Alright, so this is everything I want to cover in this video. Just a very simple exercise on how we can get started using Selenium for some very basic web browser automation and web scraping.